viewers, and welcome to another edition of the Market Review. It's a brand new week. It's December 21st. The build-up to 2020 Christmas season begins, and for us is to just give you developments in the financial and capital market as it relates to the economy. Today, we'll be looking at the updates and activities around Nigeria's capital market, focusing on the equities. So let's tell you the interesting outlines that we have, what we'll be discussing today. First, we take a look at the review of the NSE ASI performance for previous week. We'll also take a look at the Proshare Research analysis on performance in the equities and the outlook. Also, we'll take a look at the domestic and foreign portfolio trading in equities markets, previous months, October in focus. We'll also take a look at portfolio investments in 2020. What has it been like for first quarter, second quarter, and third quarter of our capital and position reports? And of course, we also have latest developments between the Securities and Exchange Commission and Chaka Technologies. So let's first begin with the previous week in terms of the NSE All-Share Index performance. It shows that the week had a very eventful activity in the markets. The performance showed that market breadth closed positive as Equities led 31 gainers as against 7 losers, topped by CI leasing at the end of last week's trading session, and improved performance when compared with previous outlook. The quiz market closed positive, and NSE SI appreciated by plus 1.56% to close at 36,804.75 basis points as against plus 2.10% appreciation recorded previously. Year-to-date returns currently stands at plus 37.12%. Market breadth, like we said earlier, Equities were the key players, and the 7 losers were topped by CI leasing. In terms of market turnover, it was very impressive. Interesting to see what happened at that level in the markets. It closed positive. Volumes moved up by plus 24.07% as against previous week of minus 47.18% downtick recorded in previous session. Nigerian Insurance, Guarantee Trust Bank, and Mansard Insurance were the most active to boost market turnover. Dangote Cement and Guarantee Trust Bank topped market value list. In terms of the volume shockers, Nigerian Insurance led the list of active stocks that recorded impressive volume spike at the end of last week's session. Let's also take you to Proshare Research, the table of Proshare Research, and give you perspective on what happened in the previous week and the outlook for what we expect to see happen. First, the Nigerian bourse continued its bullish performance last week, and the performance of the exchange was supported by interest in tier 1 bankers and other bellwether stocks, including the stocks in the industrial sector. The NSE SI advanced further, like we said earlier, plus 7.46%, and closed above 35,000 basis points, while the market cap also advanced by 1.32 trillion naira. Year-to-date return and market capitalizations currently stands at plus 37.12% and 19.23 trillion naira respectively, week on week. That's huge. Also, total turnover 1,893 billion shares, worth 17.647 billion naira in 20,660 deals were traded last week by investors on the floor of the exchange. The volume and value of stocks traded declined by minus 46.44% and minus 2.99% respectively. The most traded stocks by volumes were Jaiz Bank, FBN Holdings, and Niger Insurance, accounting for 761.87 shares worth 1.46 billion naira in 1,295 deals, contributing 40.25% and 8.32% to total equity turnover volume and value respectively. Performance across sectors was positive for the week as all indices closed the week advanced, except the Nigeria Stock Exchange Alternative Securities Exchange Market, SM, and the NSE Gold Board, which closed flat. NSE Insurance was the highest advancer for the week with an increase of 13.39%. Banking, NSE Consumer Goods, NSE Industry, and of course NSE Oil and Gas advanced by plus 5.12%, plus 3.08%, plus 7.74%, and plus 1.84% respectively. Market breadth was positive for the week with 53 gainers led by FTN Cocoa, processors, of course, Japol Oil, as against 17 losers led by Mansard and NEM Insurance. That was the interesting perspective from Proshare analysis. Now, Proshare Research says that for the outlook, with limited opportunities for high yields in other asset classes due to macroeconomic challenges and a high inflation rate environment, it expects the market to sustain the bullish momentum as investor sentiments and market breadth remain positive in the equities markets. That's from the stable of Proshare Research, Nigeria's leading financial information hub. Let's look interestingly at the domestic and foreign portfolio trading activities for the equities market for October. This year has seen a very interesting shift from dominance from the foreign, now the domestic playing a key role. On a monthly basis, the Nigerian Stock Exchange pulls trading figures from market operators on their domestic and foreign portfolio investments flows. As at 31st October 2020, total transactions at the nation's bourse increased by 81.45% from 134.97 billion naira, that's about $249.85 million, in September 2020 to 244.90 billion naira, with about $234.55 million in October 2020. The performance of the current month when compared to the performance in October 2019, which had 163.16 billion naira, revealed that total transactions increased by 50.10%. In October 2020, the total value of transactions executed by domestic investors outperformed transactions executed by foreign investors by 34%. A further analysis of the total transactions executed between the current and prior month, September 2020, revealed that total domestic transactions increased by 71.91% from 94.92 billion naira in September to 163.18 billion naira in October 2020. Total foreign transactions also increased by 104.04% from 40.05 billion naira, which is about $103.81 million, to 81.72 billion naira, which is about $211.75 million between September and October 2020. Analysis showed that institutional investors outperformed retail investors by 14%. A comparison of domestic transactions in the current and prior month, September 2020, revealed also that retail transactions increased by 95.97% from 35.69 billion naira in September 2020 to 69.94 billion naira in October 2020. Whilst institutional composition of the domestic market increased by 57.42% from 59.23 billion naira in September 2020 to 93.24 billion naira in October 2020. Now let's take a look at the historical analysis of domestic and foreign transactions. Now the performance of the market shows another very interesting trend that we noticed, and of course something that everyone that understands the market really takes a look at. Over a 13-year period, domestic transactions decreased by 72.30% from 3.556 trillion naira in 2007 to 985 billion naira in 2019, whilst foreign transactions increased. Foreign transactions increased actually in terms of the size, and that was from, in terms of the size, that was from 53.08% from 616 billion naira to 943 billion naira over the same period. Total domestic transactions accounted for about 51% of the total transactions carried out in 2019, whilst foreign transactions continue to show some very interesting trends. It accounted for about 49% of the total transactions in the same period. The actual performance, reference 2020 actual, shows that the total transactions in that period hit a very interesting rate. The total foreign transactions carried out year till date is about 591.97 billion naira, whilst total domestic transactions year to date is 989.10 billion naira. Let's get on to some just interesting analysis on portfolio investments for the year 2020. As you all know, that portfolio investors play a very key role in our market. And in the capital importation report that comes out every quarter for 2020, we have 3 quarters already. So let's just tell you what has happened this year. In the first quarter of 2020, portfolio investments, which accounted for 73.16%, that's $4,209.47 million. So we had about $4 billion value of portfolio investments under a capital importation report, and it accounted for 73.61% in first quarter 2020. Then in the second quarter, portfolio investments accounted for 29.76% in the market. That's in the importation report, and that was $385.32 million in second quarter. A very huge dive from initial $4 billion. Then some improvement again, but not so significant in terms of the impact. Portfolio investment accounted for 27.87%, so it still went a bit lower, but in terms of volume was $407.25 million of the total capital imported in third quarter 2020. So you see, in first quarter, portfolio investments were very huge and very key, part of the contribution, but second quarter declined to 29.76% and continued to decline again to 27.7% in third quarter. And let's take you to what has been a developing story we've been monitoring over the weekend. And this has to do with Securities and Exchange Commission looking at activities of one of the players in the fintech and, of course, fund space. In a swift response to the Saturday afternoon public notice released by the Securities and Exchange Commission, where it stated that it has been granted an interim order from the Investment and Securities Tribunal to restrict Chaka from advertising and offering for sales, share, stock, or other securities of NSE-listed companies. The company, through its co-founder, Mr. Tosin Sibodu, that's of Chaka Technologies, issued an email of regulatory updates to customers and investors using its platform to appraise them of the situation and the security of their funds, which is very key in this time. Recall that SEC informed the market that the Investment and Securities Tribunal on Thursday, 17 December, had made interim orders restraining Chaka Technologies and its promoters from offering and providing in terms of sales, shares, stock, or other securities of NSE-listed companies. Pursuant to that application and filed by SEC, informed the tribunal that in defendants, the defendant as Chaka, are engaged in investment activities, including providing a platform for the purchase and also of shares in foreign companies such as Google, Amazon, and Alibaba, 3 very big, giant tech companies. This development had already awoken the market and fintech ecosystem as to the implications for understanding how well regulators seek to build a bridge between tech adoption and regulations, especially given the good intentions covered in the SEC-facilitated Fintech Roadmap Committee on the Nigerian Capital Markets Report of August 30, 2019, titled The Future of Fintech in Nigeria. Chaka, from its mail to customers, sought an engagement that will offer clarity on how and what trading platforms and apps can work within the Nigerian investment space. This analyst spoke to considering the time and, of course, how apt it was. Indeed, it can be recalled that some of the issues were underscored in Proshare's September 2020 online trading report that was published, which we've talked about extensively. The online trading ranking report titled Trading in a Period of a Virus, Building Good Habits. In the mail to customers, Chaka Technologies explained their understanding of the development, which goes thus, that they only learned about SEC's position as at weekend, and while they await receiving the formal order from SEC, they want the investors to note that they have it well placed and that it's a duly licensed entity and the investments remain safe through Citi Investments and will continue to be custodied by the SEC regulated broker. It says since it has begun its journey in 2019, it has been transparent about regulatory status, leveraging strategic partnerships with registered brokers in the US and Nigeria, specifically Citi Investment Capital Limited, which is regulated by SEC. The commitment to investor education, trust, and transparency remains a top priority. That's for Chaka Technologies. They also like to state that Citi Investment Capital is fully compliant with the Commission's regulation, as all local equities are offered through a local licensed brokerage firm, registered with Nigeria Stock Exchange, Central Securities Clearing System, PLC, and regulated by the SEC Nigeria. Following the statements issued by SEC, the legal operations team are working to accelerate a resolution. Further updates, they say, will be provided by today to the investing public, just to give you abreast with what Chaka is raising as this major resolution in response to the regulation. So it just shows you how regulation has its impact on the growth of fintech adoption and how it can boost capital market activities. We know that it's very important as we seek to deepen the capital market ecosystem, the balance between regulation and the activities in the industry would be very critical. SEC has its own set of regulations and rights to carry out oversight at any point, and definitely we expect at the end we'll get further updates on these developments and the cost implications will be discussed. But this is just to note that one of the top priorities of the SEC, the apex regulator of the capital market, is investor protection. Note that part of the reasons why we have a low participation from retail investors is the experience of 2008-2009, where investors, retail investors particularly, lost a lot in the market. So investor protection is very key for Securities and Exchange Commission, and they want the investors to always put their funds where it's safe and ensure that they follow the procedures and steps for investments and avoid any investment that is not regulated or registered by SEC. And this is why Chaka is saying that, look, they're registered, they're regulated, registered, and they're following the due process. But we'll continue to follow those updates. And this is why we want to, once again, remind our viewers and all investors in Nigeria, please do not invest or carry out any activity in any investment platform, whatever, that comes out to tell you that, yes, we have good returns for you, 100% to 200%, but are not registered or regulated by the Securities and Exchange Commission. That's a huge risk, and as we approach the Christmas season, you don't want to take risk and lose your hard-earned funds and money. People can tell you the story of what they've gone through over the years, making those wrong calls. This is why in our program, we always try to create that awareness, sensitization on the need for you to make the most informed decision while trying to invest your money. Take note, it must be SEC regulated, registered, so that whatever happens, your investments can be protected, because if you lose your investment, it has a very huge impact on your health and even your general well-being. That'll be all for this edition of the Market Review. You can join the conversation on the market and what's happening in the equity space. Log on to www.proshare.com, and on our left-hand bar of our site, you will see Capital Market. Click on it, you'll see all the developments that are happening in the Nigerian capital market space. And we also have, still on that site, stock updates. You can click on it and see what's happening with various quoted companies and activities in the stock and equities markets. Very interesting week. We look ahead to continue this conversation. Let's make it happen tomorrow, same time. Till we come your way again, thank you for watching. Have a nice day and stay safe.